Financial Survival Network, helping you to survive and thrive in the new economy. Get our complimentary newsletter at financialsurvivalnetwork.com. This is the Financial Survival Network.
Today's show is brought to you by PrepareWise. Rough weather's ahead, so it's time to prepare. Your leading source for emergency preparedness food. Go to preparewise.com and always use the code Lutz to get free shipping and a whole lot more. You are listening to the FinancialSurvivalNetwork.com. I'm Kerry Lutz on 1230 WBZT, and it's time for another Triple Lutz Report. This is episode 302. It is September 5th, 2013. Food stamps. You remember Jason Greenslate. He's reaping dividends. That video, I don't want no MF or job. It's reaping dividends. The House Republicans, they're trying to reform the food stamps program, SNAP, whatever you call it, supplemental, nutritional, something or other. You know what it is. You can find out if you're that curious about it. All right, I had to look it up. I can't sound totally ignorant. Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. Okay, just in case you were wondering. Oh, by the way, gold is getting slammed again because you know that war always drives down the cost, the price of precious metals, and why should now be different than any other time? Yeah, I'm being facetious, sarcastic, because that's my nature. So Jason Greenslate single-handedly is going to force the Republicans to reform SNAP. And today, SNAP is costing $74.6 billion. That's what it cost last year to provide 46.6 million Americans with food stamps, which there are no food stamps now. And if you want to get really aggravated, go do a Google search, okay, and put in food stamps. I'm doing it right now. And then click images, okay? And what comes up is something that's really disgusting. Do you know whose picture is on the $5 food stamp? I'll tell you whose picture's on there. Thomas Jefferson. Now, do you think that guy would be rolling in his grave if he knew that his picture was on a $5 food stamp? I mean, that is the most sickening thing I've ever heard of. Why is his picture on a $5 food stamp? Is that what our founding fathers really stand for? Dependence on government? I mean, come on, give me a break here. It's disgusting. So last year they spent $75 billion on food stamps to provide food assistance to 46.6 million Americans. Before the current occupant took over in the White House, we were spending only $35 billion for 28.2 million recipients. And Majority Leader Eric Cantor is trying to reform it. He wants to save $40 billion over the next 10 years, which means that they want to cut it down to $71 billion. Now, this is pathetic. All right? They reformed food stamps when the current occupant came in 2008 under some bill, and they basically doubled the cost of the program. So now he wants to cut it back by 5%. And of course, the Democrats are screaming about it, that Pelosi, that moron, said their Republicans are taking the food out of the mouths of babies. And this is ridiculous. I thought there used to be a means test for food stamps, whether or not you really needed it. And, you know, food stamps are what you would call a gateway drug to other forms of welfare, because once you get food stamps, then you can get an Obama phone, you can get heating assistance, you can get other welfare. I mean, once you get once you sign up for the program, then you can get all sorts of other welfare goodies. And the USD is also giving these food stamps out to illegal immigrants. They've got outreach programs trying to get more people sucked into these benefits, and this is really sickening. And by encouraging states to engage applicants in activities like actual employment, job training, or workfare, we can help those in the program build the skills and gain experience they need to become self-sufficient in the future. But that's not what these programs are about. These programs are about getting people to become complete parasites and to feed off of the host. That's what these Democrats want. And it's not just the Democrats. The Republicans are just all about that too. I mean, it's all one big happy party, and they're just trying to get you to become a parasite, become dependent, so you'll vote to keep these benefits going. Hey, if you're a coffee connoisseur like me, you need to try an amazing new roaster out of LA, Tonks Coffee. These guys are fanatical about delivering the best beans in the world. They source directly from the growers, roast it, and ship it to you within 24 hours, so it's the most fresh coffee you've ever tasted. Every 2 weeks, you get a new batch of incredible beans roasted to perfection. If you're hitting a cafe most mornings, this is a much better and more economical way to get great coffee. Tonks is by subscription only, and they're offering you a free sample. Use the URL tonks.org/liberty. That's TONX.org/liberty. Get some for yourself or send it to someone you know who appreciates the finer things. Tonks.org/liberty. Again, TONX.org/liberty. If you can't see that by now, what do you think it's going to be? And, who knows if this reform, this so-called reform, is going to take place. Let's start with going back to what it was in 2008, and let's see if we could get it below what it was in 2008. Did anybody ever think of that? I mean, you just keep killing the goose that lays the golden eggs. Eventually, the people who produce out there, and, I produce a little bit, I'd like to think, are just going to get fed up with it and just aren't going to want to bother with it anymore. And look, here's an example. It's not just the economic hard times of the past 4 years that have caused SNAP participation to skyrocket. The USDA has long encouraged and rewarded its employees for increasing dependency on Uncle Sam. In social service office in North Carolina received a SNAP Hunger Champion Gold Award in 2011 for using an outreach worker who understood how to counteract the locals' mountain pride or desire to remain self-reliant. I mean, meaning that they didn't want to be on food stamps, but this worker figured out how to manipulate them to make them feel that it was okay to be on food stamps. And, there's just something really wrong with this. And, now a Spanish language flyer promoting SNAP benefits provided by the Mexican embassy, provided to the Mexican embassy by the USDA reads, "You need not divulge information regarding your immigration status in seeking this benefit for your children." I mean, this is sickening. It really symbolizes, it really explains why the country is in this prolonged state of decline. It really makes you understand why there's really no hope. The only hope we have is this collapse, because as long as they want to give away the store and encourage dependency, encourage people to really go on the dole and stay on the dole forever and get their children on the dole and keep them there, as long as that's the case, what hope do you have? I mean, how is the country ever going to turn itself around? Really, bankruptcy is our only hope. Once bankruptcy occurs and these programs are shut off, then we might actually have a chance. Here's another great one about the federal government screwing things up. This Eric Holder, another criminal bureaucrat, he's suing Louisiana to block the state's school voucher program, which its purpose is to give low-income kids in terrible schools, which is most of the schools in Louisiana. I mean, they're pretty close to bottom in quality of public schools. He's suing them to stop the vouchers to allow kids to attend private schools, which would hopefully provide a better quality of education. The Justice Department claims the 2-year-old program could interfere with federal desegregation orders in several Louisiana parishes, which, that in itself is a holdover from the civil rights era. I mean, where did they think of these things? And Jindal says it was a complete surprise to him, and obviously it shouldn't have been, because liberals have been fighting the Louisiana Voucher Initiative, officially called the Scholarship Program, from the beginning, and the teachers' unions look no far, evil people. They just want to keep those kids illiterate, functionally illiterate. They want to destroy their lives and make sure they have no opportunity. They want to sentence these kids to lives of poverty and they want them to be criminals. They want to sentence them to prison, either a prison of poverty or criminal prison. It's really that simple. That's what they want for these kids. The vouchers threaten the teachers' union's monopoly. It's that simple. And in May, a court ruled that this program was constitutional, but that funding it through the general education budget wasn't. Jindal and the legislature changed the budgeting process, and basically the education establishment in Louisiana, or as Jindal calls them, the coalition of the status quo, as I call them, a criminal establishment, the criminal education establishment, protested that the voucher program and other educational reforms like charter school expansion, which I think is a farce, and tenure reform, they couldn't go for that because they want lifetime employment with no accountability, which is what tenure is all about. So they were even going to try to recall them. The Republican Speaker of the House, they were going to try to recall all these people. It went nowhere. So Jindal said, hey, we're still here, and so is the voucher program. Now the feds are after them. And look, like Louisiana, really awful public school system. It's kind of as bad as Florida's, probably even worse. I mean, half of New Orleans is illiterate. So public schools receive grades from A to F. That tells teachers, parents, and policymakers how those schools are performing. A school that receives an F has, among other problems, at least half of its students that perform below grade level. And schools that receive a C or lower are considered failing schools. Leave it to Louisiana, a C means failure. So I guess they've got a little bit of grade inflation at those schools. And low-income students attending a failing school are eligible to apply for a voucher. Then the money that would otherwise go to their local school can instead be used to pay tuition at a private school or a better performing public school, which sounds like a pretty reasonable system. And you can imagine that parents probably like the program. And with 93% approval from parents, who are mostly single moms, which, don't get me started on that, is another issue that should be tackled. 90% of the recipients are minorities, which in Louisiana means they're overwhelmingly black. And while most of the program students are in New Orleans, there are recipients everywhere from urban areas like Baton Rouge and Shreveport to rural parishes all over the place. And early results for the program show improvement, which you can't always believe it because government statistics are always a crock. They're filled with lies and misrepresentations. Let's give them the benefit of the doubt and say they're actually working. From 2011 to 13, students in scholarship schools did better on literacy and math tests than they did in their old schools. 7% increase in students performing at grade level in these areas. Any improvement is a good improvement. I'm skeptical of the numbers. Let's just assume that there's 7% less kids who are going to grow up stupid and illiterate through no fault of their own. Say, I better check my own literacy. Last year, 10,000 students applied for vouchers. 5,000 of them received it. This year, 12,000 applied, 8,000 got them. And they got a lottery, so don't cry discrimination. And Jindal says it's successful. The average cost is 60% of what they'd otherwise spend. So you can understand why these public school teachers are up in arms, and other states are doing the same thing. So these public school crooks, these corruptocratic union leaders, of course, they go to their buddies in the DOJ and say, you can't do this. You're going to put us out of work. And, it's just the corruption of the Democratic Party. Not that the Republican Party isn't as corrupt. We all know that it is. But we need to close down public education as we know it. And I wish that Jindal would start getting into internet education. We need it. Internet education can do better than even private school education when it's handled properly. This is the path that we need to go down, because you can get the best teachers in the world teaching online courses, even in these private schools. Can't do it there. It's just not available. And there's a lot of study done on this. Lot of work been done on it. It's proof positive that these public schools, especially in inner cities and urban areas, are toxic. They're teaching the kids nothing other than cucumber, banana, and condom use. Other than that, they really serve no purpose whatsoever. And time to close them down. Put up real estate developments there. They're taking up some good real estate in these inner cities that could be bringing revenue into these cities that are cash starved. And, public education, really inefficient. Billions and billions of dollars wasted a year. Detroit, are you listening? Close down that education system. Just give out vouchers. It's the best way to go. This is Kerry Lutz. Been another Triple Lutz Report, signing out. This show was brought to you by PrepareWise. They're the leading producer of certified GMO-free, chemical-free, organic emergency preparedness food. I buy all my emergency preparedness food there, and you should too. I like the 183-serving mega sample pack. It's an amazing value. It's $280. That's less than $2 per meal. Go to preparewise.com. That's preparewise.com and use the code LUTZ, LUTZ, to get free shipping and much more.
The Financial Survival Network, helping you to survive and thrive in the new economy. Get our complimentary newsletter at financialsurvivalnetwork.com. This is the Financial Survival Network.